This video contains a giveaway. Stay tuned to the end of this video to find out how you can win a copy of the game featured. I wasn't gonna do anything special for December this year, and I didn't have anything planned, but then GB from Biggest Games contacted me and asked if I wanted to review Hood the Streets, and yeah, sure. I even have a few other review codes that I haven't gotten around to, and one of them, like this game, is also on itch.io, so this whole rest of the month thing can kind of double as a fuck GOG for bending the knee to China and unpublishing devotion on their platform. This is kinda gonna be like when I covered Vampire Jam following Bloodlines 2 announcement, where I put out a series of videos about those, which is kind of fitting because that game is also going through some shit, and I only have the time now to make this video because Cyberpunk turned out to be shit. So instead of playing that, let's play some games that weren't made by 1,000 people but rather by a single vision. Games that deserve your Christmas money a whole lot fucking more than whatever the big companies are shitting out right now. Games that I don't feel terrible for playing because I know that if the developer worked an 18-hour day, it's because they wanted to, or maybe because they were high. Anyways, let's, in this particular episode, have a look at Hood the Streets. Hood the Streets is a game that puts you in the 1996 era shoes of a drug dealer who is making his drug dealing rounds during a snowstorm. Initially, the game absolutely failed to wow me. Graphically, it's a bit visually underwhelming while still consuming a lot of computing power. Sure, my computer is not a powerhouse by any means with its 8GB of RAM, i3 CPU and 1050 GTX GPU, but it will play games that look, sound and feel better than this. And you will of course also notice that there is a mouse cursor permanently stuck on the screen. I have been told by the developer that the Windows key can be hit to remove the cursor, but I didn't learn that until after my playthrough. But for your playthrough you can remove it via that. You will however not be able to remove the strange plastic sheen that is especially present on the brick textures. It seems to be pulling a lot of system resources, and there were times when I was seeing sub 30 FPS, and that should just not be possible in a game of this caliber of graphical fidelity or, well, lack thereof. I mean, don't get me wrong, I thoroughly appreciate the look of the game, and I think the almost shining snow is a nice touch and there are some good lighting effects all around, but the plastic sheen and the visible granulation in the wood textures, I don't really like that so much. After doing our rounds and selling to a guy in an alleyway and then a cop who is supposed to be outside a Chinese restaurant but who is actually a bit off to the side, we make our way back to our apartment to get more drugs, and here we are extorted by a police officer who is not the same graphical style as the rest of the characters so far, which is a bit strange. After making it back home I was a bit lost on what to do. I'm supposed to go to a supermarket, but after wandering around the map for a while I couldn't seem to be able to find it. Then I realized that the game uses light to direct your attention towards points of interest, and after going from light source to light source I was finally able to locate the supermarket's tiny sign and pick up what I needed, and then I had to go to the next customer, which introduced a bit of a cool visual tactic that the game uses that I really like. Your apartment in the game is represented by the player walking off the street and right into the apartment, and you can stand in the doorway and look at both the cop outside and your kitchen at the same point in the doorway. And I really dig that, because the walk up to the apartment through a hallway would serve no purpose anyhow. So this whole right off the street apartment makes total sense. It is then further expanded upon when you must go sell drugs to someone at your apartment building, and you do that by walking into the apartment off the street and then out in the hallway and up the stairs. And I just thought that was a super cool visual. After selling to the guy upstairs, we head back down to our own apartment to take the edge off and smoke a joint. But we're unfortunately out of paper, so we make our way to the gas station and pick those up. Outside, we are accosted by a T-posing homeless man who gives us an eerily warning. And after exiting the gas station, we realize what his warning was all about. Someone is stalking us. After dodging the creepy guy outside the gas station, we head back to the apartment and pick up the stuff for our next delivery. And then we head over to the apartment across from the supermarket to do the delivery. And we find out that we are still being stalked and that the homeless guy from before is dead in the alleyway. What I really like about the gameplay is that the horror is so simple. Mechanically, the stalker is just a stationary object, and if you get too close, you get the early and bad ending. But it's still creepy as shit since you're not completely sure what his range is or if he can actually move. And the game does a nice job of framing it. Like in the alleyway deal, where you have two alleys to choose from and one of them has the stalker and the other has the deal. That's a cool little gameplay thing. And a lot of the initial suspense comes from not really knowing who the stalker is, or like being able to visually identify him, because you know, you are a drug dealer and you deal drugs to creepy people, and it's hard to tell regular creepy people apart from creepy people that want to kill you. Honestly, kudos game for managing to get 3 scares out of me with stationary objects. That's not bad. After witnessing the murder, we decided that enough was enough and headed back to our apartment to lock ourselves in and stay there for the night. But as we get back, an email comes in and we're being extorted. We are being told to meet someone or else they will go to the police, and I assume that they will tell the police that we are a drug dealer or something. It turns out that we are meeting Special Agent Rafferty, an FBI agent that is investigating a cult that he suspects to be carrying out a series of ritualistic murders like they did when their protagonist was a child, an event that led to his parents getting murdered. We make a deal to help Rafferty out by scoping out a place in return for him not turning us into the police, and there we find the body of a parent and a child and discover that it is indeed the cult that is carrying out the murders, and we head back to Rafferty and report. Rafferty says there's nothing more for us to do and tells us to go back to our apartment and lock ourselves in for the night. That seemed a bit awfully easy, but you know, who are we to question a special agent, I suppose. We do as we are told, but someone is locked in here with us. We attempt to make our escape by running up the stairs, but at the top of the building we find out that the door to the roof is locked. And with no other option, we turn around and are abducted by the Few, the cult responsible for the ritualistic murders. Elsewhere in the city, a cop shows up and asks Rafferty what is going on, and then Rafferty murders him and mumbles to himself, "All hail the Few," which explains that he didn't actually want us to investigate anything. He just wanted us to be distracted long enough so that he could send an agent into the apartment and hide there so that they could ambush us when we got back. And then it's further complicated because, you know, why were we abducted and not murdered? Well, see, the cult operated out of the church originally, but they cleaned that place up really nicely and then made it seem like we were the lone mastermind behind the killings. Sort of what I imagine they did during the first spree. And as a result of this, the cult lives on to, well, kill another day in another spree sometime in the future, without anyone ever knowing that they were responsible. I really like Hood the Streets, but I would fail to truly call it a game. It's a vehicle to tell a story. The game is just here to visually communicate the game's setting and mood, allowing the creator to tell their story much easier and much quicker. And I can respect that. It does have some issues that I feel should be addressed to improve the overall experience. I have mentioned the overexposed textures and of course the subpar performance, and I have referenced the T-posing of some characters and some characters being presented in one style and others in another. And that is just a bit of an eyesore. Oh, and I think it could overall benefit from a more fitting font and maybe a bit QA work. Not every action in the game tells you what button to press to continue, and some story beats are a bit hard to figure out because the game does not communicate visually or via text what the fuck you're supposed to do. And a place like Alonso's Mart is a bit hard to find because the only thing indicating where the supermarket is a sign, and it's a poorly lit sign at that. But criticism aside, like I said, it's an awesome game and there is an awesome story being told in an awesome and clever way. And I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what is next for Biggest Games. If you like to play the game yourself, it's available on itch.io like I mentioned in the beginning, or well, as I also mentioned in the beginning, you can enter the giveaway to win the game for yourself. To enter the giveaway, just let me know down below what your favorite Christmas ritual is. One of mine is the yearly Zelda playthrough I do with my brother. We get together a couple of times a year to play a video game, and it's usually Ocarina of Time because it's a childhood defining classic for us. Anyways, that's about it from me. Next time we'll have a look at Taxi by Night, which is a game I covered last year for Vampire Jam, and in the meantime between then and now it has gotten a big update that changes and adds a lot, so we're going to look at all that. Until next time, bye bye.